Dr. Fleming, thank you for sitting down with us. Since we are both vaccinated and we're socially distanced, we've agreed we can remove our masks.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations on this high honor from the Texas Medical Association. Take me back to the beginning. When in your life did you know medicine was for you and that you wanted to become a doctor?
Well, I was probably when I was 4 years old. It's been a long, long course. My mother used to always remind me that after going to my pediatrician for one thing or another, that I said, Mom, I want to be a doctor. And apparently that's where it came from. So I've gone from wanting to be a doctor to a musician, being a failed musician. I said, okay, what am I going to do? A failed musician, a failed fighter pilot. So hey, what is there left? So that initial desire came at about 4 years old.
That is amazing.
Yes.
So then you thought about other things, and then ultimately medicine was your path.
Always came back to medicine. Yes.
Why? I
love it. And my desire to help people is really where it came from. I had excellent role models throughout my childhood. My pediatrician was a great role model. Our family doctor was a great role model. And these guys who kind of steered me along, and these are the guys that I emulated as a child. Yeah.
So you decided to go to medical school, you went to medical school, and then you chose your specialty. Why, of all the various different potential specialties, did you choose?
That all came from medical school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that when I went to medical school, I wanted to take care of people. That was my desire, to take care of people. And I always knew that I wanted to be a specialist in something, but I didn't know what. And in my second year of medical school, during my neuroanatomy course and neuroscience course, I said, this is it. I became fascinated with the brain and how the brain functions, and it just kind of took off from there.
That is fantastic. So, not to date you here, but you began practicing, 40 years ago?
1979.
How do you feel medicine has changed in that time? If you could switch back and compare then to now, or even in changes in your practice in neurology, what's the same and what's different?
Well, there have been tremendous changes. The way that medicine is delivered today, the patient-physician, physician-patient relationship, all has changed. From that, and I think one of the things that has changed, which is probably bad about medicine, we've lost that personal contact with the patients. It just is still there, but it's different. As far as scientific advancements, they've been tremendous, especially within the field of neurology. And you remember during George Bush 41's presidency, he designated that decade as a decade of the brain. And during his presidency is when this kind of took off, and neuroscience took off. To the point where we had one medicine for Parkinsonism when I was in med school. We had no medicines for multiple sclerosis in med school. We now have 18. God knows how many medicines we have now for Parkinson's disease. We didn't know about ALS. Just tremendous strides in science to where we are now.
So patients back when you entered medicine who had these conditions, there were fewer things you could do for them, but now those diagnoses may not be quite as dire?
That's correct. That's correct. And my friends would always ask me, why are you going into neurology? There's nothing you can do. So, well, now there are things that we can do. And they were right. There was nothing that you could do, but you still gave people hope. and you took care of people. You took care of strokes. Now, with advances in stroke, that's one thing people see every day. Advances in stroke have been just tremendous. When I first went into medicine, we had nothing. Had nothing. Now stroke intervention, you can get treated in a van, and on site before you get to the hospital. And the stroke survival is just 180 degree turnaround. So there have been just tremendous strides in neurological care.
That must be so gratifying for you as a physician to feel empowered to do more for patients now than you could when you began.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we have options where we didn't have options. Even in migraine, we have options that we didn't have before. So there have been tremendous strides in medicine.
That's wonderful. So you were TMA president, and in your presidential installation speech, you referenced people who helped you achieve that pinnacle, being the president of America's largest state medical society. Tell us about the people who you named then, Dr. Bryant and Dr. Stevenson, others, who influenced you coming up.
Yeah, well, nobody gets here alone. And I stand on the shoulders of all those people who helped me get here. I don't know how many times that's been said by other people, but it's true. We stand on other people's shoulders. Some of them would probably stand on my shoulders, but people from my medical school, professors up to my residency professors, and those people who I practiced with, people who brought me, who introduced me to organized medicine, all were tremendous influences in my life. To specifically speak about organized medicine, I first got into organized medicine, and I've said this before also, at a Christmas party. Dr. Betty Stevenson, whom we all know, bless her soul, at a Christmas party one year, he said, Dr. Fleming, we have a job for you, And I said, okay, Dr. Stevenson. And when Dr. Stevenson asks you or tells you that we have a job, you don't say, well, what is it and what do I do? You say, when do I start? And that got me into organized medicine. I remember the job was, I was on the Harris County Medical Society committee for the writing of an AIDS guide, and another icon, Dr. Sam Nixon, chaired that committee. So that was kind of my introduction to organized medicine through Dr. Stevens, and Dr. Nixon, and of course Max Butler, all just icons just within Harris County, just within the little area that I practiced with in Southwest Houston. Just icons of medicine. And those are the people who brought me along. People I admired. You mentioned Dr. Frank Bryant, and Dr. Bryant from San Antonio was a tremendous role model. He may have been the first black president, or first African American president of TMA, except he lost an election to my other mentor, Dr. Stevens. So, but at any rate, he kind of paved the way for me also. And there are many others, and I hate to name names because I'm going to forget somebody.
Understandable.
Yes, yeah.
Talk briefly about the significance of Dr. Bryant, because you probably had few people who looked like you who you could look up to. And then ultimately, you became the first president of the Texas Medical Association who was African American. That's
true. That is true. Well, to look up to someone like a Dr. Bryant, it was just, it just let me know, well, this can happen. It can happen in Texas. It can happen in the South. Although, Texas is not quite South. Texas is Texas, you know. But it gave me the idea. Look, I can do this too. And I remember going into the House of Delegates at the TMA. I remember going into the House of Delegates at the AMA. You look out into the audience, looking over the house, and there were a whole bunch of old white-haired white guys. Well, that isn't the case anymore. It is so diverse, diverse among all the ethnicities, young, old, gender diversity, you name it. So those sorts of things you see as changes as we progress throughout our careers.
Progress. Some would see that as progress. Why do you think that's important in medicine, for there to be diversity?
Well, I think, well, again, as I mentioned, caring. I think caring is important. Caring is important. I mean, and we are a diverse society, and I think medicine should reflect our society, as it all feels. So we reflect the society in which we live, and we don't take care of take care of just African Americans or white Americans or Asian Americans or gay Americans or women, men. We take care of all people. That's always been my goal. We take care of all people, and all people are equal. And I think as physicians, that has always been kind of our mantra. And I think doctors have been a profession that's kind of led the way. Because as far as I can remember, doctors have always led the way in diversity and care of all people. It's just, I feel that's very, very important. I'll tell you another story. When I was growing up, I mentioned my pediatrician, Dr. Jacobson. And Dr. Jacobson, and I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, in the Jim Crow South. I remember one specific incident. It was during a bad flu season. I had the flu. I think I had the flu. I don't know how old I was, but as it was in the day, Dr. Jacobson had his front door for his white patients, and he had the back door and back waiting room for his black patients. I can remember going up my mom taking me on the bus in Memphis to Dr. Jacobson's office, going up those stairs, and the waiting room was full. And I can remember Dr. Jacobson as clear as day. Julia, bring that boy on up front here, and because the African American waiting room was full. And he said, Julia, bring that boy on up here, And he brought me to the front waiting room, and we sat there until it was our time. But it's people like that. He didn't know what I don't know if it was conscious at the time or not, but it was very touching. And I probably didn't realize that until I went into medicine myself and realized, hey, that was a statement at the time. So it's those sorts of things that kind of brought me along.
And you obviously it was memorable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Remember it like it was yesterday. There are a lot of mentors in your life, a lot of important people in your life, and probably the most important person in all of this is Harris Hauser, who brought me to Texas. He came to Minnesota when I was a resident at the Mayo Clinic, and he said, you need to come to Texas. I said, Harris, I think I want to go to the East Coast, the West Coast. I want to go to California, or I want to go to New York. I I don't want to go back south. And he said, well, come and take a look at Texas. And he said, we have a coast. I like, and I was a sailing enthusiast. So he said, you come to Texas, we got a coast, we got a Gulf, we got an ocean. You can take your sailboat there, and I was a skiing enthusiast also. He said, you can take your boat there to the coast. He said, we're 2 hours by plane from Colorado. But all this turned out to be true. I could get on a plane 2 hours, I'm on the mountains. So he said, come and take a look. So it was Harris Hauser who was instrumental in getting me to Texas in the first place. And
Dr. Hauser was a Texas physician?
Yeah, Dr. Harris Hauser. He's a TMA member forever. Yeah, forever. Well-known psychiatrist in the state. So Harris was instrumental. He caused all this. So he was instrumental in getting me here in the first place. So this is a long story. Story as to how I met Harris. I actually met Harris in California at an American Academy of Neurology meeting. I was still a resident when I first met Harris. And this was at Malibu. And we had a common friend who had a house in Malibu, who had also trained at the Mayo Clinic. Came there, and there were all kind of celebrities at this guy's house. And Roosevelt Greer, I don't know if you're a football fan, Roosevelt Greer played with the Rams, was serving as bartender at this party. You see, at this party, I met Harris, met Barbara, and so forth, and it turned out he invited me to come and join him in practice, and that's how I got here. Yeah.
Amazing. And had you established practice elsewhere before you decided to
go
to Texas?
I was still a resident at the Mayo Clinic. Yeah.
So we were talking a minute ago about firsts. You're also the first African American to receive this highest honor from TMA. Is there significance to you of being a first in that regard?
Well, I never thought of it. First of all, I'm just honored, and I could have never dreamed that I would get this honor. But sure it is, and I look at people who are headed toward this, who are walking in my footsteps, and to be the first, to be the mentors of some of the younger people in my field and other fields who look at me and say, there's Bill Fleming. Means a lot. Means a lot. And these are guys that I respect,
Which I'm sure, therefore, it means even more.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I said, look, you're smarter than I am. So, anyway, so.
You talked about organized medicine. Oh my goodness, your CV, you have been very involved in organized medicine and state specialty societies and state medical association and national associations. You maintained that. What drew you in, and what is the importance of participating in organized medicine?
Leadership, I believe. Leadership and change. I don't know where it came from, but no matter what I did, somehow I became a leader, and I like it. I mentioned in my field of in music. I was a drum major in high school. And I've always been. I've always served in leadership positions, so it kind of went along, held a form that I'd become a leader in medicine also. But as a leader in medicine, you have the possibility of promoting change, whatever that might be. So in one way, I saw that change needed to be done, and well, how can I do it? And the best way to do that, I thought, was to be a role model. And live the life that you would expect others to emulate. But it's because and that's kind of where that stemmed. And no matter where I went, and I don't know how I got there. I don't know how I got elected to A or B or it just happened. It just happened.
You received this high honor from TMA. You've received other Lifetime Achievement Awards from other medical associations. And yet, and I hope you don't mind me calling it out, okay, you're 75 years old and you still see patients every week, multiple days a week. What drives you to keep going, to keep doing this?
I love what I do. I love what I do. I couldn't think of me doing anything else. I wake up in the morning and I look forward to going to work. I look forward to going to see patients every day in the office. So of course I've cut back a little bit, and I don't do hospital rounds anymore. And so I've kind of quote unquote semi-retired, if you want to call it that. I don't call it that. It's just a change, But I certainly enjoy going to work every day. I just love the interaction with my patients. And people ask me all the time, Doc, when are you going to retire? Or my patients will ask, Doc, please don't retire. And I'll say I'm around, Other doctors get to be my age and they retire and go play golf. I retire, I go see patients. Because my golf game is not that good. Maybe if I had a better golf game, things would be different. So,
with all of the outside influences pushing on medicine, you talked about it during your presidency. Your predecessors spoke about it. They still speak about it because they still exist today. And yet here you are saying, I love my patients, and by golly, I don't want to hang it up because I get joy from that. What would you say to try to help inspire your colleagues who feel the burden?
Well, you have to embrace medicine as a profession. It's a way of life to me. You have to have that desire to want to help people, and I still want to help people. I want to see people get well, and I love taking care of them even in illness. I love interacting with people's families when they're ill, when they're sick and ill, to give people comfort, to know that someone cares and that there is hope. So, which is part of why I'm in neurology. There is hope, and I don't think you can't manufacture that.
Picture it. There's the TMA Distinguished Service Award, and it's got your name on it. When you first found out, what does that mean to you?
It took a while to settle in, and when I was told that my name was being submitted, I said, okay, So okay, we'll see what happens. So when I was notified that I was going to be given the award, I said, okay, good. And I thought about it for a while, and all of a sudden I woke up one morning and I said, this is great. This is tremendous. and as the time is approaching that I'll actually receive that award, it's kind of grown. It's kind of grown, that, hey, this is a big deal. Do I deserve this? I'm truly, truly, truly honored to receive this award. And for the people of Texas, and Texas has been good to me. The people of Texas, as my year as president, I got to travel all over the state from Amarillo to Laredo to El Paso to Lufkin, Texarkana, all over the state. We talk about diversity and so forth. And I traveled to West Texas where there are no African Americans in some of the towns that we traveled to. But wholly accepted, and it was fun being president of TMA, and primarily because of the people I got to meet all over the state, and the reception that I received all over the state, that I never would have dreamed of coming from Memphis, Tennessee, in the Jim Crow South. It was unheard of. So for me to grow up and become president of what I feel is the best medical society in the country, maybe the world, is just tremendous.